Hello, we are live now. I
We're
think
here.
we made it. We made it to our own stream.
Congratulations. It's nice to finally have our semi-weekly conference call, Grass Ray.
Yeah, that's what
Time.
this is? A conference call? What are we meeting about?
What I do every day at work.
Oh, okay.
We're talking about Alterium Shift today. This is being pushed live on Steam, as well as on YouTube and Twitch. So we will be managing conversations between all three. This will be something that we will play pre-recorded on Steam after we do tonight's stream. So look for that, sometime today, tomorrow, or something like that.
Yeah.
Tonight we're going to be continuing our journey looking at farther into the early access game. So it's spoiler warning. We will be going through lots of spoilers. We decided we're going to change it up a little bit and focus primarily on talking about the game, the history of the game, where we've come to, and maybe then talk about some of the fixes and enhancements that are coming, as well as we will talk a little bit about things like our sales goals and things of that nature. But we're not going to start right away on sales goals. Instead, we're going to start right into the game and talk a little bit more about some of the game's lore, and some of our inspirations and how we got here. Of course, we'll vary that based upon what chat's saying and whatever comes up as we go. As I can see, there's a Mirage Omega on Twitch. Hello, how are you? Thanks for being here.
Welcome.
I'm glad you can be here live with us.
Yes. What's up, Shorty? How's it going, man?
right.
Yeah. So, what can we
Let's
talk
jump
about?
in.
The history of Alterium Shift. Where did we start? How did we get here?
The
Where are we
history. The history is a mystery. So let's talk about how we got here. And I think maybe it might be good, Dras, if you start to pull up the game.
Okay.
I think, just so there's something else to look at besides our faces, because I know people
Alright,
that watch
alright.
Steam probably want to see the actual game. I don't see it on Steam yet, though. Let me
No.
just. There it is. Okay, we're live.
We're live on Steam. Okay, good.
Yes, we're live. And I will take a look on chat there too. So chat on Steam, I'll be keeping an eye out. Where do we get? How do we get here? Well, you guys see in the video of the game below in Steam, or if you played the game, and or what Dras is about to show, this really started with Dras Ray being inspired by games like Octopath, and then coming to me and saying, "Hey, look at this cool thing that I made." And I said, that's great. I don't want to do Smile Game Builder, which is the engine that our game is built off of. Now, what you
Yes.
see when you look at this game, you play the game, you're seeing a heavily modified version of an engine because I have a lot of development experience, not as much game dev experience. Now I have 2.5 years of battle tested game experience, but I am used to using engines from my normal career. So I was like, we can do something with this. And that's basically what happened. Was he showed me this thing that looked beautiful and said, we should make a demo. I said, I don't have time for this. And he said, we should do it anyway. And he finally just got me suckered into it by showing me some really beautiful visuals.
Here's
And,
like one of the old ones.
there. Oh, you got some pictures?
No,
Oh,
this
yeah,
is like one
yeah.
of the original battle like scenes that I created
Yeah, before Atlas had hair.
before Atlas had hair.
Pretty
The first
funny.
time I started animating the monsters and stuff.
Yeah. Mirage says, as someone who enjoys retro aesthetic, this is one game I'm super excited for. Well, thank you, Mirage. There is a demo available on Steam right now. And the demo is the early access version, just cuts off after Act 1, which is the first sort of intro of the characters into the game. So anyone on Steam right now, or anybody watching on YouTube or Twitch, feel free to go get the demo. Costs you nothing, and it is the full game. And we do keep it updated as we update the main game for early access.
Yep.
So yeah, you saw some of the early stuff, and then fast forward to today. I think you have the CRT turned on. You do.
Yes.
One of our dreams when we started, way back, way before I even knew what the heck I was doing in Unity, I said, we got to have a CRT filter for it. So it's been a bit. It's been a couple years, but we finally have a CRT filter, which everyone is going to get access to on the main early access branch and on the demo. Probably tomorrow. Yes, we didn't talk about the actual date for that, but
Hopefully tomorrow. We'll have to do a little more internal testing, but I think we're almost ready.
Correct. And those who've been following along, who have supported us on Discord, including Shorty here on the Twitch chat, there is a beta branch. People can get access to that early, which this stuff is already deployed on. We are trying to keep a little bit more stability on the main branch, and so we want to do a little bit more testing before we push that out, and it should come out tomorrow and or the day after, depending on how our testing. But if you think about our journey to get here, you talk about the fact that when we started, we were using only Smile Game Builder, which is kind of like a 3D RPG maker. And, we were just having some friends test it internally. And we were working nights and weekends-ish, not fully, honestly, to get a demo out. And our demo, we got our demo out the first 6 months, I think. Or no, first 4 months. We launched it pretty fast. Didn't we, Dress?
Sorry, I'm having a little technical difficulties over here. I think your build that you sent me, I hit new game and it wouldn't load new game, so
I don't know. I have to go take a look at that. Maybe load a saved game instead.
Yeah, let me try that. Let's see.
I mean, obviously this isn't the build everybody has. This is development.
Yeah, we did it.
When you have development, you have to deal with issues, right? We try to maintain the version so you're not encountering this issue. We do know that people have had some issues, and we do care about those things, and we are trying to catch, especially the major ones that are causing problems. Yeah, there is an issue, Dress. So you're not gonna be able to open
the new game.
The main. No.
Well, I continued, and that worked.
Yes. It's a weird error. Anyway, we'll do it from a continue, and hope that we can keep going from here. Tonight, Drass is going to play. I'm not sure which character you're going to choose, but he's going to continue on the early access side of things. So
I chose that. I went ahead to continue Atlas.
Okay. So last time we played over the weekend. We didn't put it up on Steam, but we did show where we were headed with the game, and we stopped, I think, at the buried temple, which Drass and I sometimes refer to as the water temple because there's water, and there's a water puzzle. Which, what is it really a JRPG if there's not some kind of puzzly element that has switches and levers to change access?
Yep.
Mara says, I love how the vibe feels like Secret of Mana. You all really put some love into this, and it's apparent. Well, also, thank you. Yes. I don't know if people who play video games always consider, especially indie games, what the person or people behind the game actually put into the game. It's a lot, right? You look at the things that don't work, maybe, and you say, well, that's frustrating, or I don't like how this is. But there's a lot of time and effort that we've been putting in to try and make this our vision of what a retro-styled JRPG could be. And we're not trying to be on the nose with our references, but we are heavily borrowing across all the games that we've played: Secret of Mana, Breath of Fire, Final Fantasy VI, Final Fantasy 4 or 2. I'm not sure what it was. In the US, it was Final Fantasy 2. I don't know what it was in Japan.
4, 5, and 6 were the ones on SNES for US.
Yes. And of course, my main inspiration is Chrono Trigger. This has all the elements of that style and otherwise. Now, Drass actually had some experience with the PlayStation era, and PlayStation, the PlayStation JRPGs had a little bit more 3D involved with it, and that's why this game also mixes some of that in there. We're not, opposed to doing that if we feel like it fits the style and the lore of the game. Raz says, I feel like indie games show a lot more heart and passion. Definitely. Yes. We try to. I don't know how many indie devs but it's not necessarily like a gig that pays well for a while, and if you're lucky, it'll pay well, but you know, you can't really expect it to start with. Bilbo Swaggins, hello, thank you, and welcome.
Welcome for the welcome. Thank you for the follow.
Welcome for the follow.
Yes.
Did any of you play Xenogears? Maybe Dras.
I haven't played it, but I definitely know of Xenogears, which was on the PS1. I liked the I like that you could. It was like you could jump around on the map and stuff like that, but it was like 2D. It had sprites. It was like kind of like our game, 3D world, 2D sprites, kind of deal.
Alterium Shift is a great game. Well, thank you, Bilbo.
Thank you, Bilbo.
We are trying very hard to make it better.
First time catching the live stream. How's everyone doing today? Hey, not hated. Thank you. We're doing great.
We don't hate you.
I think.
Hate you at all.
We don't hate you. Your name is accurate.
2D sprites in 3D world with a movable camera. Yes. Now, one thing that people might ask is, why can't I move the camera around? And this, again, tonight is about talking about how we've gotten here. We will talk about some of our goals moving forward, and we will talk about some of our new features. As you can see, I think the CRT filter is still engaged. Yeah, it's hard to tell because the screen is tiny for me. But you know, I know that's sort of like flavor, but think about the fact that we are making a game using modern technologies with a goal to make it feel like the games that we really love. That's a hard thing to accomplish, right? I mean, without going straight to 2D, without just following the exact same methods that, you know, games like Chrono Trigger followed or Final Fantasy or whatever. You know, we're introducing elements that kind of, some people might think take away from, some people, I'm not saying everybody, from that whole completely classic feel. But we're not trying to be exactly completely classic, right? And you'll see a lot of these retro RPG games out there, they're not trying to be exactly like the games from the past. They're games that use much higher resolution sprites, and they're beautiful. And their interpretation of that retro feel is to take the 2D model, the 2D flat, but then make it feel and look just much more gorgeous than you could have possibly done back there on the 16-bit console. Our take was, we like the notion that we have the 3D world available to enhance the look, but we're not trying to use the camera to emphasize 3D. And there are games that do that. They use the camera. The camera goes all over the place. It flips around and moves. Yeah. And that's okay, but that's not what we're going for. We are going for looking at first glance like it's a 2D game, but it has depth. And that's been our mantra since we started. And everything in this game, I swear, all of our lore is also based on that concept. At first glance, it looks like what you'd expect, a flat whatever. And then as you dig in, there's depth. All the conversations, there's depth. Multiple responses, choices for the characters. There's things that change based upon situations. There's things people still haven't discovered in the game, even in the demo, which is just really fun for me. I just can't wait to hear if anyone ever finds some of the secrets I left in there. So there's depth to the game in totality, not just visually, but also just in content, in lore, and the way we try to tie everything together. Yep. Take a second and read chat in case I missed anything. I did not miss any chat. That's good. So, what else can we talk about with that? I was going a direction and I forgot where I was going. Let's talk about the camera a little bit more, though, because the one thing I wanted to say about that was one of our features, one of the things we want to include in the game is a little bit of camera manipulation. We're either going to do something where we pull the camera back a little bit more in certain areas, or we would give you that like nudge camera, so you can like either zoom a little bit out if you need to see a little more, or you can nudge it left and right. Again, we don't want to make it extensive, but we do want to make some use of the camera. Some people feel like the view is too tight. And for us, that's like the classics, right? The games always had that tight camera angle. But sometimes it might help to pull it out a bit more. So one of the other things about our philosophy in this whole development process, we're trying to go classic feel, but we are trying to moderate the addition of modern quality of life features. And well, Drass and I have different opinions on this. So if you ever wonder, why don't we just have a little marker that says where we need to go? That's my fault. If you're mad about that, come talk to me, and I'll tell you what I'm about to say, which is I am not opposed to adding features that make it easier to find your way around. I'm not opposed to that, but I don't want that to be our first decision. And again, it all goes back to, if this is retro inspired, the games from back in the SNES era, they rarely ever did that, right? They just let you kind of figure things out. They gave you some dialogue, and you kind of went on a quest on your own to figure out where you're supposed to go. And oftentimes that meant they had to develop their maps in a way that guided the player where they needed to go. And so before we go to, let's put a marker, or let's put, to me, it just feels like somewhat of a cop-out to do that first. First, let's see if there's a way we can do it without putting the obvious, right? Again, I'm not opposed to it, but we're trying to, the retro feel means we want to minimize that in the game style that we're seeking to make. And so that's where, any of these quality of life features that are really modern, like you literally just have point by point by point. So it's just like walking you through, you're just going from point A to point B. Those things we try to avoid unless we feel like it truly is necessary, and then we find a way to weave it into the game and the story. For instance, Atlas has a little marker on the ground. Now we're going to change that marker at some point, but right now it's a little cute square or something, and that tells Atlas where to stand to use his ability. In the future, Pyra is going to have rocks that glow, that tell her, or things that glow that she knows she can smash, because you're going to need some indicator, right? And so the filter through the lens of the player is the essence sight. Their ability with Alterium Essence allows them to see things that have some special quality to them. So yeah, we can add those things, but it's always through this lens of how can we do it within the game lore without just making it something that essentially takes you out of the game, or in my opinion, takes you out of the game. Then we can get caught up. I think allowing to zoom in and out as an option is good. Yes, that's we're thinking like the nudge, the idea that with the right stick, for instance, you could hold it or move it to slightly nudge.
I personally would be okay with it zooming out a little bit.
Nah, Hate It says, I did find something interesting during my playthrough. If you go to the world map after an encounter, the enemies will respawn. Yeah, the world map has been one of the banes of our existence. We are working on some fixes to prevent that. It's just a timing issue, and we have to make sure that we control that change. Right now, the world map is its own map. Maybe in some games it would just be an overlay, but because we intend to have the players be able to walk on the world map, we need to treat it like its own map. So you got to go to it and then come back. And at some point, you'll be able to walk around in the overworld to fast travel.
Right.
I'm wondering if this will get a PS5 or Xbox release. Bilbo, that is such a great wonder. I wish I could show you the boxes I have just sitting in my basement right now. I won't talk in specifics, but let me just say that I think I have all the major consoles here. The only thing I don't have is a Steam Deck, because Drass has that and it works on Steam Deck. But yeah, we have a working Switch prototype, which I need to work on getting updated shortly. And we have other consoles here. I just have to, we have bugs, we have work to do. It is on my to-do list, but there are things I think are more important. If you're going to spend money for early access, I want to make sure you're getting, Drass and I want to make sure you're getting the experience we're hoping you to have. And to do that, there are some things we really, really have to fix now or enhance now so people feel like they're getting their value out of the money they're spending. And so, consoles are great, but I'm not prioritizing them yet. That's coming. Need this on mobile too. If mobile happens, it's going to be a longer term thing.
Yeah,
I'd say.
Mobile is, unfortunately, when you're making a game like this, there's no way to easily monetize your game and make money on it. Like mobile games, obviously, you see a lot of microtransactions and whatnot. That's not the kind of game we're making here. It's a story-based game. If Apple came to us and offered us a bunch of money to put it on the Apple Store, sure, maybe. But I don't think that's going to be a priority definitely until after we have the console versions done.
And the late response, doing all right. Responding to Billboard. Okay, so this is a good sort of segue, and I'll get to your question in a second, Dan. I'm only going to talk about this briefly because we're trying to make this more of a chat about the game, but we have early access out now. And if you haven't already and you don't have early access version purchased, it's totally fine. We do have a demo that is the full game, just stops after a certain point, that you can play now, today, totally free. In fact, when we update it in 2 days, it'll have all the features that you get when you purchase early access. Early access just has a whole nether section of game, and it'll get updated with more sections of game as we go. The demo, you'll always only have access to the first beginning area. So our early access launch has goals, and we don't need to bring up the goal sheet. You guys can go check out our Discord. It's really simple. We're really driving to try and get to 5,000 copies sold in the first month after launching early access. It has been a road. I mean, we've gotten to the first marker. The first milestone was 1K. And we were originally going to wait to do CRT until we hit 5K. We decided to pull it in because we were really happy for people's support. If you know of anybody that might be interested in this game, please let them know. It does help us. I hope that people understand we are doing all that we can to make the game better. We are taking all of the feedback. We're not fixing everything right away because it takes time, as Bilbo noted. Take your time. Well, we're not even taking our time. We are trying to fix things now, daily, every day. We're constantly working on this game. We're trying to improve it and even get the stability back there for all the people who have had issues and concerns about the game. It does support us, and in order for us to grow, in order for us to justify things, moving forward, to reinvest back into it, we need to show that the sales are working. It doesn't mean it affects the overall goal. Like, we're still going to launch the game. We still have the plans to get all the localization and the console development done.
Yep.
But, the more copies we're able to sell and the more support we can get, the easier it will be to do certain things, to get additional resources to help us with some of the development, to polish things off a little bit more, things of that nature. So again, consider that, even people just giving a wish list, that is great support. If you just want to wait, you just want to give a wish list, the wish list numbers are huge. It's really important to get wish lists. If you know anybody with an indie game, go drop them a wish list because that supports them. You may not think it takes much time for you to do, but every little wish list counts. So even at that point, if that's all you can do. You are free to also check out our socials. On our socials, there's so many different ways you can contact us. You can get us on Twitter. You can get us on Discord. Discord's the #1 place to reach out to us. If you've got early access, if you've got the demo, stop in there, talk to us. We will help you out as best we can. We have a support forum for all the bugs. We have a Patreon we just launched. If you want to support us in other ways, or people who might want to support us, check out our Patreon. It is on our link tree. We were hesitant to start something like a Patreon. It's kind of weird as a developer who's selling a game to also ask people to support us through like a patron-based system. But the reality of life is we can use additional support. And we'd like to make sure that support is valuable. So if you go to the Patreon and it looks interesting, but you don't feel like there's something that would convince you to sign up for a subscription, you can always let us know. We are the type of people, we're transparent about our approach. We show people what we're doing. I will show code when I stream. I'll talk about the technology behind it. And we'll be transparent about, what we can do and what we can't. And we'll take feedback and we'll talk with you about it. So just let us know. I mean, anything that you guys think is helping or hurting, anything you want to talk to us about, come to our Discord. That is the absolute best way to get a hold of me. Yeah. Did I miss anything in my spiel, Dras?
No, I'm just killing bugs, dreaming about killing bugs.
Yes, that's all we're doing is just constant. Today we got some pretty good ones done.
We did.
And I'll take a pause just to catch up on chat, and then I will talk about some of the things we have coming down the pipeline. So, first off, let me read what we have here. Hold on, I lost chat. I really lost chat. Okay. So Dan said, are you guys using the Uniphysics engine or anything in the game currently? So Dan, yes, the answer is. In fact, what we're going to show tonight at some point when Draft gets there is a temple that the first time we implemented physics. And it was only to handle the platforms that rise and lower with the water, the flow water that we use. But that's the extent of Uniphysics we're currently using. But now that I know how to integrate it with the engine, I'm certain I'll find other places I can use it. I'm not sure what I'll do yet. Shorty says, I speak for most people. We just want to fix what we have so we can get more to scratch the itch. Want to fix what we have. Fix the game that we have. We will keep working on fixing that for sure. I'm definitely sold on getting the early access. Well, thank you. Pop in there if you're willing. We totally appreciate it. We do work on this game a lot.
Yep.
This isn't we're not being vaporware. You don't buy it and suddenly developers disappear. We are working a ton. This Swagger says, there's a villager in the first village that appears for a split second and then disappears. The villager in question is in the house. I need to make a video of it. Yeah, so Bilbo, there is a ongoing issue with the fact that we built these maps in an engine called Smile Game Builder, and I've done enhancements within the game. So I actually took Smile Game Builder's system, and I did something what I thought was pretty innocuous and simple. I made a setup process so I can set up a map before everything starts. And I made an automatic fade in for the maps, so that if you come to a map after it transitions and the map is faded out, it will fade in. However, when Drass was making the maps, he put fade-ins as part of the transition between his maps. Because again, we've developed it sort of real time, right? I'm working on one thing, he's working on another. So what you see is the map fades in before it's supposed to, and you see it trying to clean up all the artifacts. It's trying to hide everything. So we're trying to find a better way to do this, and that's particularly why this problem is occurring, unfortunately. So we're hunting them down. Anytime you go to a map and something just pops in for a second and disappears, it's likely that particular problem. I had a fix, I thought fix it, and I broke something else, so I had to revert it. And I'm trying to find a better way to solve that more universally. Yeah. I thought I was tripping. I love the CRT. Well, I'm glad you love it. There's plenty of, and CRT has more settings. It is a shader that we had created by our lovely contractor that has been supporting us from Handoon Games. He has a lot more things we can mess with there that can actually do some crazy stuff. I'm starting with the basics, and then we'll enhance the settings as we go. Because I'll just, I'm not sure which will make the most sense and how it's going to play together. Hey, Michael, how's it going? Buy your friends and family and animals a copy. Or you can support us on Patreon, however you want. Is it many other people who you're working with on the game, or are you just you two? So, Bilbo, to answer that question, we have myself and Drass are the primary co-developers. I'm more technical, so I do a lot of engine work. I also wrote the main characters and most of their stories. Drass also contributed most of the story for early access, which he's waiting for me to go through and clean up a little bit. This is purely based on the fact that there's some things only I can do. I'm doing all the underlying engine work. I'm taking an engine that was not designed to do half the things I have it doing right now, and I'm trying to integrate it and do it as cleanly as I can to make it maintainable over time. Unfortunately, given time constraints, I can only do so much. And so while I'm doing that, Drass is like building ahead of the game, right? He's doing the graphics, the art, he's putting story. Sometimes he's putting placeholder story. He's responsible for basically all the puns in the early access version, which is after the demo. And honestly, I think he's better at puns than I am. So, whatever. I feel bad, but also good that someone else can do that job. And then in addition to that, we have a publisher, Gravity Game Arise, or they also go by Gravity Indie Games. So they do other things behind the scenes that aren't directly related to developing the game. The new cover art, which you guys have maybe seen somewhere. If you go to our website, is right, alteriumshift.com. I hope this works. If you go to our website, you'll be able to see what the new art looks like. that came from Gravity Gamer Rise. They have a talented artist we worked with for many months to get that out. They do all the press contact. Michael here is the one that's like contacting people daily, responding to emails, which is really, that would be a big hassle. We wouldn't be able to respond to all that stuff regularly. We have the contractor that we get some work from. It's a limited budget, so we can just get targeted work. In fact, they were responsible for the bubble shift effect and some of the more complicated things like the CRT shader, they recently helped with, and some other internal things that they help with. So that I use them for, because they're a Unity expert, and that's much easier for me to farm that out than to try and solve the problem myself. We have an honorary member of the team. I'll get caught up in chat in a second. Named Wallaber. Wallaber is a developer. I swear he is amazing. He makes a game called Jellycar World. It is on Steam now too, and I know that we're supposed to be talking about just Alterium Shift, but he is amazing. He is incredibly supportive. His game is awesome, very well put together. It's so solid. I mean, he's a career game developer. Please check it out. Check him out. He's amazing. He's awesome. And he's also provided a lot of support. Wallaber has been sort of my guru on the side. When I have a problem, he'll get on a call with me for like an hour or two and then dig in. He knows all the ins and outs of Unity. In fact, he helped solve a major issue with the CRT monitor stuff because Smile Game Builder has a completely outdated way of drawing its graphics on the screen. And while we're still working on eliminating the Smile Game Builder graphic system, we're stuck with some of it for now. And so he actually helped me figure out how to get that under the CRT shader so we can get the effect, across the board. Because otherwise you'd see like the CRT effect and then a window on top of it that doesn't have CRT. The Wallaber is amazing. Then we have Jonathan Shaw. Jonathan Shaw is a heckin' talented musician. He is very, very amazing with his music. And if you don't know who he is, check him out. We found him from an asset pack. His music seemed to fit what we were doing, and we told our publisher he's the guy we got to use. So after many back and forths, we finally got approval, and we don't regret it for a second.
Nope.
He's just so fantastic. And then you say like, oh, who else is on our team? Look, we have a team that is, very core group and helpers, and then we have all the amazing people that have helped us over time. Friends that have done testing, you all that have purchased early access or even the demo and have been giving us feedback. I mean, who's part of the team? We're all part of the team, right? This is a partnership, and we say this about early access, and I don't know how other people treat early access. Maybe it's just, let me see if I can get money, or maybe it's just, let's throw it out there and see what people think. We look at this as a partnership. We are working together. We appreciate people's feedback, their questions, their concerns, their comments, their complaints. We are always listening. We prefer the concerns to be constructive, but we understand not everyone wants to give the message that way. So it's not, you can't, it's sort of like it takes a village, right? If Alterium Shift is a kid, we're the village raising it. Maybe Drast and I are the parents. I don't know where this analogy is going.
What are you even talking about?
Birthing this baby? I don't know. I'm going to just move on from that. Anyway, that was a long-winded answer to a question. In fact, let me get caught up with chat again. And then I really want to talk about some of the things we have upcoming.
Oh, Motzi.
This is... I wonder where the humor comes from in the game. Just look no further than us two. I have
really like the art you guys have for the character portraits. Oh yeah, that kind of goes back to when we first kind of were getting the project going along and coming up with these characters, right? We commissioned out these character portraits that are in the menu here. His name is Rion, or he goes by Hana online. He has a couple different pseudonames online, but either way, yeah. He was the guy who helped us kind of solidify the character designs.
Yes, in fact, you go back to the history when that came about. I was like, Drast, if we're gonna do this, we got to get good art. And he's like, we can't afford that. It's like, well, I had a little bit of savings at that time. I'm like, let's just do it. Let's pay somebody We have to do something that is actually meaningful, and that really helps set the tone for the characters for sure. Getting caught up on chat. Not hated said, I've done the puzzle. It was pretty interesting. Well, you should also know that the water puzzle, which you're seeing Drass go through right now, has a lot of fixes. We've added things like an indicator to show that the water is actually turned on, which that one didn't work for some reason. I don't know why it's not working on your computer because it works on mine.
That one was one of the only ones that didn't work when I was going through testing.
Maybe I
right
didn't
before
hook it
this.
properly. We've also spent a lot. I've spent a lot of time fixing the water mechanic. There were some issues where you leave and come back, and weird stuff would happen. This is where the physics is used. The platforms were actually using physics, physics, just so that when the water rises, it'll rise with it. Because I didn't want to be bothered with doing something that looked less natural. So yeah, if you played the water puzzle in the current live early access version, it's got some bugs. I'm fairly certain I've squashed most of them. I think the only thing that you'll see remaining is sometimes the waterfall doesn't connect up right, or it's weird, that little the water transition. Otherwise, I think it's mostly good now. Pretty solid. Even there was a soft lock that you could actually get yourself stuck. I even fixed that. You no longer get yourself stuck. I haven't added the reset button yet, but that'll come. So where are we? Not hated. Okay, I see new staves. I don't know what those are. I'll be happy to support your team on this game however I can. Well, thank you, Bilbo. We appreciate that. I do grunt stuff. Let's see. There's the music. I also really like the art. I have to charge for babysitting now. I don't know if the text is fixed on the build you're using, but the fire staff says attack 18 plus fire 22. A staff imbued with basic water elemental magic. Did you get that one, Trass? That's funny. Indeed, I did notice the problems with the build that I was using. Yes. It's early access. Our dream would be not to have any bugs. But
oh no, but I can. Yeah, if we can get that noted somewhere, I can take a look at it.
I don't know what broke. I didn't see it.
No. I'm talking about the staff.
Oh, I'll note it. I'll put it as a ticket.
Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, one other challenge is, and we've been talking with our publisher about localization. So our game, if you go to just pure characters content, currently the early access version has 66,000 characters. I think that I've implemented something to deduplicate some of that because some of the phrases are the same, so it's something less in totality. But even the demo with all the monster names, all the item names, the skills, all the dialogue is 25,000 words, not characters, words. 25,000 words, not duplicated. So not duplicated, that means that anything that exactly matches a phrase, I match them up. So we talk about having to make all of those words make sense and have good grammar and have good spelling. It is a pain. And Unity does not supply any easy way to spell check. And our system of dialogue is little boxes with little messages in it. So the process of getting that stuff in a good grammatical state has been challenging, to say the least, which is a little terrifying when you think about. And then we got to get it localized, and you got to manage changes to it because there might be grammar changes we've got to make. There's a lot of stuff that we've got to deal with. But it's not. It's fine. It's just work. It's work that has to happen. But it is something that we have to be cognizant of. There's a lot of words in this game.
Yeah.
If the game has bugs, use bug spray. I wish. Regardless, the text is pretty funny and misleading. Where is it misleading? Oh, the water. It's fire, but it's water. So one of the things I wanted to talk about.
Water elemental magic. I probably copied the staff from the water staff, and I didn't. That was the one word that I didn't change from water to fire.
If you're wondering about development processes and what is normal for indie dev, I have no idea. I can tell you what our process is like, but we prioritize the things we know are going to be critical for the process, and we expect that things like text will be part of polish.
Mhm.
Now, when you localize, you've got to polish it a little sooner, but you know, the text is there, so there's something, and then we can fix it. But you know, oftentimes we have fundamental engine-related things we're trying to fix, or there were things where the character was pausing when they left the room or house, and those are things we had to dig in and fix because those are the gameplay things are going to be the ones that detract the most. So
Mhm.
we tend to try to focus on those more, as much as we can. Right? Some of them aren't quite as easy fixes, so we tend to delay that until we have the time to focus. Do you need help on getting through this one again, Trask?
No, I actually found something, a way to do it.
Oh, you found a different way?
I think so. Yeah.
That's totally fine. I mean, if you find a way to solve it different from my puzzle mechanic, I don't.
It was
mind.
this right here. I did the water here.
Oh, what happens if they're behind you and you open it? They just stay hovering over the air. You should probably make them like.
Yeah. And then there was.
I can imagine there's gonna be your followers hanging out. Oh, there's one where the waterfall's creeping.
And then. There we go.
You don't have the text exported
no.
outside files. That is access. Yes, the text can be exported. We just haven't done any sort of review of that. That's how we're doing localization. We're exporting it so that it's one gigantic spreadsheet.
I swear this worked before I did did it.
Well, hopefully now you won't be able to like soft lock yourself.
No, I couldn't. I'm yeah, that works now.
So reviewing 30, 40, 50,000 words is a lot to do. And unfortunately, things like Grammarly they don't work on spreadsheets, which is the one thing you need it to work on if you're going to deal with that much text. I was relying on you to master the puzzle draft so I could watch it later for more playthroughs. Yeah, you'd think that by this point he'd have a better clue on.
No, I thought I did it this way earlier and it worked, and now it's not working. And it's okay. It's okay. I got to figure it out.
Well, I think now the puzzle won't lock you because I found a problem specifically with those top gates that should prevent that weird like date that they end up in.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. And then this is weird.
You're weird. Yes.
Yeah, I know.
So I've been trying to get to what is coming in the future, and I'm going to talk about that now for a second. As we've mentioned, what you're seeing now being played will be released to the main branch tomorrow or the day after. It is currently in the beta branch, not the latest fixes we made, but this water fix stuff should be there in the CRT filter. In addition, there are some key areas that we know we have to focus on. One of the main areas is the echo shift mechanic. When you get to the end of the demo, there is a yellow node that doesn't have any indicator what it does. Although if you played the game to that point, you'd understand fundamentally that a yellow crystal in the ground has some meaning, because there's a place where you're introduced to the notion of a crystal in the ground, and that introduces this echo shift mechanic, which has caused a lot of heartache and even a couple bad reviews by people. Incidentally, side note, if you want to support Alterium Shift and you have purchased the game, the best way after that point is to go and leave a thumbs up on reviews. Reviews matter. It affects things like the algorithm. The better the reviews, the more likely someone's going to take a look at the game. It'll get in front of them. And of course, we love to have more people working with us on this, playing the game and telling us what they think. One of the things was people would go to this node, and it has this thing where it like saves your player, and then it opens up a load menu. And I think people think the load menu is a save menu. Maybe that's what is the problem. And they go to a load file, and then they lose their autosave. And one of my biggest lessons I've learned is that people actually rely on autosave like it is infallible.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize people thought that way. I always think of autosave as a backup. Like if I forget to save, well, at least I could check out the autosave. In fact, most games I play, that's how it works. But some people have completely lost hours of play because they never used manual save. We have 30 save slots, but they only use the auto save. So rather than like just say, well, you know, too bad for you, I can't fix the problem for those people because they actually already lost their content. But we're going to work on some ways to save backups of autosaves and have a way to access those backups in case someone accidentally loses their progress. In addition, the whole Echo Shift node concept will have a proper tutorialized version that is in game, in context of game, to teach people what it is. The game itself, the game isn't just pick your character and play. You can play that way. It's your choice. The game is intended to be one where you go back and play as other characters. And because of that, we are doing things and will do things that encourage that for you, the player. The Echo Shift node is supposed to be a node that affects the world beyond your saves. When you touch it, it changes to the color of your character. And anything that has that color, which is unique to the character, will be affected. It'd be a door that opens. It could be a chest that opens or unlocks. We'll probably find other little mechanical things that we can also turn on and off. So you will have the opportunity then to either get access with your character or go back as another character and get access to something that maybe was previously not accessible to you. Right. Of course, people have asked, what does that mean for like the full game, the ending, whatever? He says, yeah, you might want to infer that possibly going through the game with all three characters on their individual paths could lead to something like a different ending. We do plan to have more than one ending, and of course, what better way to exemplify the classic JRPG to make the ending tied to you playing through all three characters. This is the end of the Temple Water Zone. This monster, I'm totally being tangential here because this was a really fun experience with us. We wanted to bring in that shift mechanic to the battle, and Drast did all of this. He made all of this work. Now, we got to do some work on the actual battle system itself. So before you say, what about battle system? Yes, that's on our list. Talk about future stuff. That's also on our list. A lot of things about battle we want to tweak and improve based on all the great feedback we've gotten. But we wanted a way to also have a Guardian show how mechanics can be used within battle. Right. So this one, I think, when it switches, it actually affects the type of attacks that it's weak to or how it attacks.
Yes.
Which is pretty cool. I don't know how we're going to do that in the bestiary, by the way, or bestiary. That actually, now that I think about that, that's going to be complicated.
Oh yeah, because it's going to be different. Depending on.
Yeah. You always got to make my life complicated. But what's interesting about this is all of the all of the Guardians, not Temple Guardians. This is only one. All the Guardians are all of the monsters that you see in the game that are bosses. They have a 3D element. So the first three monsters you encounter.
Bye, Bilbo. Have a good one.
See you later, Bilbo. Have a good one. Of all the monsters that you come into, they have a 3D element to them. In fact, the first three monsters, each main character has their own boss to fight in their own area. They are 3D monsters. Now, it happens to be convenient because animating monsters of that size is easier to do as a 3D object, not as a 2D object. But they all have some sort of 3D component. This character, as you might tell, they look almost like it's 2D. And I don't remember if I can't remember if I prodded you into this, Drast. Like I annoyed you into it, because I do that sometimes. Like it's got to be 3D, but it wasn't working as a 3D object. And finally, Drast was like, yes. I have an idea. Yeah, because I think you got one of those times where you got mad at me, and then you came back with this solution.
Right.
Because I didn't like what you're making. You're like, rah, 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 rah. And then you're like, I know. This is a 3D object rendered as pixels. Yep. And so we again, like, we take every step of this game, we take seriously. And sometimes it's Drast wanting to do something a specific way, and a lot of times it's me with a very strong opinion. Half the time I'm like, that looks fine. But then every once in a while, I'm like, no, we have to do it this way. And this was one of those cases where like, it just isn't working like it was. And then we came up with a way that worked, right? Drast did it. He got annoyed at me and he's like, fine, I'll do it this way. And it was like, that's great. Let's do that. That's the perfect solution. I love it. Let's go with that.
Flames. Here we go.
Let me get caught up on chat real quick. So Bilbo is saying goodbye. Oh wow. Okay, so we have the water puzzle.
I finally got through that water puddle.
Yeah, it's a bit, right? We may tweak the difficulty on it. We'll see.
Oh, speaking on the battle balance, Shorty, that was one of my tasks for this update. Is I went through and I balanced a lot of the late game stuff. So you'll even notice like this battle's a bit tougher than it was before, because if you got to the level that I'm at now, it was way easier. It was way too easy, in fact. So a lot of the battles in the desert, Barren Valley, later, like Act 2 stuff, I basically made more difficult, because after you got to level 10, it was pretty much a cake.
Yeah. Okay, they were talking about, the puzzle, which was fun. Bilbo headed out, and then Shorty says, the battle system needs balance, but the system is in place. It's enjoyable, and it works for now. Yes. Well, there's lots of things. I mean, like, the UI isn't great. It's fine, but it's not great. And, there's no reason to have a giant window over the screen. So we're going to look at some ways to really... And Draz has some ideas to play with the camera more. He was inspired by games like Octopath Traveler when it comes to starting this journey. I mean, outside of the original inspirations. So we're going to look at some ways to make the battle feel a little bit more alive and have some features that make it more interesting. So Choco King says, I recommended by a friend. Oh, you're recommended by a friend here, a big RPG lover and streamer here. Well, hello, Choco.
Thanks. Thanks a
hi
bunch.
there, Choco. And then I like all the fixes. I've done my best not to bug you guys. Okay, so let's go back on track. I mentioned that we're going to have a new tutorialized thing to describe how Echo Shift works, because it really is weaved into the lore of the game. And if anybody's played the early access version and died after you've touched the Echo Shift node, you'll get a hint at that, because death brings you to a zone that has a node in the middle of it, and it's just like, you're dead. So we are going to expand on that concept, and that's how we're going to reinforce the Echo Shift notion. So look for that in the next couple weeks. I'd like to get that piece in sooner than later, because that has been a point where people have had the most complaint. But in addition to that, one of the other pieces of complaint we've heard, out of all the characters you can choose, Pyra has had the most negative feedback. And it goes like this. Some people don't like that everyone's mean to her, because they personalize that. They internalize that someone's being mean to them. Some people don't like that they have to do all the menial tasks. And they feel like it just doesn't make sense, or like Pyra wouldn't put up with it for that long. And honestly, those are like the two main things, right? And then of course there's this one is probably a longer tail solution, but the final gauntlet area that Pyra goes through, not everybody reacted well to that. They felt like compared to the other characters, it was less interesting. So we have plans to address most of it. Primarily, we're going to focus on Pyra's main quest, and in fact, the update that's coming out will have some changes to Clay's quest. Clay's quest is you go to this house where the guy kicks you out of the house and says, you're supposed to knock, and then he makes you knock every time you enter. Now, I don't really want to spoil it. I want people to experience it. All I'm going to say is that there are options in there that I think will address some of the core complaints about Clay's house for people who did not like having to do all the menial tasks. Some people think they're hilarious, but not everybody thought they were funny. In addition, we're going to do things with every component of Pyra's quest, where should you make a certain choice, you might shorten the length of that quest or avoid it. That includes Sage's quest, which this one's really easy. I'm gonna say it because it's not really a huge surprise. Sage gives you a shopping list to go get, and I think we're either going to completely eliminate that or make it fairly easy and obvious to avoid having to go get their shopping list. So, you know, we don't want this to drag people down. We want people to feel like they have a little bit more control. This game is about choice, and we want people to feel like they can make choices that go against the player's nature. So, of course, it would behoove us to allow that sort of thing to happen, even for Pyra. So, more to come on that, but the new update will have at least some changes in Clay's area, which I'm a little excited to hear what people think. I certainly hope people enjoy it. Sorry, I had to get water. I've been talking a lot. Right now, you'll see that Dras is in near end game of early access, which I can actually use to talk about some future features.
Yes.
And I don't think it's spoiling too much to say this about what comes after early access. The next release of early access, which is not, I'm not committing to a timeline. I'm just telling you guys directionally where we're going. We'll see what happens after the characters encounter the Dark Elf in the midst of their travel through the shift zone. There is a new mechanic we'll introduce. The game, everything is in threes, right? You have 3 main characters. So one of the mechanics for shifting that you've seen is the world shift. So that's one mechanic. There's 2 more mechanics in the game. The second mechanic that you'll get, I think I'm okay with this. It will have a fast travel component to it related to the nodes. And the third mechanic we won't talk about right now. That will come more late game, and it'll be more interesting in how you implement or use it. All 3 mechanics will be necessary for the beating the game, but you can get access to all those mechanics with your main character.
Yes.
So if you go back to the lore, as we've built this up, we didn't start out saying, okay, we're going to have these 3 crystals that represent the characters, and we're going to have these 3 characters, and they're going to have exactly this path. The way the game built was so organic. It was, okay, we want 3 characters. We don't want to have your common trope and just be like, well, you're stuck with this one character.
Right.
It was really personal for me, because I know people, various genders or non-binary, which Sage is non-binary. If anyone asks, that's so we are not ascribing any gender. Someone even tried to get me to say, well, what's their birth gender or something, and I was like, look, Dras and I literally have not defined that. We're not going to define that, and we're never going to define that. Sage is non-binary. That's it. Full stop. But we wanted those 3 characters. And so that is the origin of the choices, the intertwining, the experience. It started with that. We have to have more than one character you can choose from. And in this day and age, we can't just have, the binary genders. So I know there's a whole slew of different minority structures you can create. There's a limit to how much you can do, right? So we try to do as much as we could to weave that in there. But from that, the entire game was built, right? We built the characters' personalities. It wasn't based on anything related to gender with them or cultural background. Literally was just well, Atlas is young, so we're going to want to have a personality for Atlas that's young. And we don't want to have a sword wielder because that's so common and classic. We want to subvert that expectation. So let's make Atlas a ranger or, an arrow shooter or something, which is fine, right? And so, that then we say, okay, so based on that, how do we deal with it? Well, someone who's shooting arrows from afar, they might be a little bit more leery of people, right? Because Atlas isn't a confrontational person, or isn't supposed to be, although he's a hothead because he's young. So, we built his backstory around that. And Pyra, a red-headed spear wielder, she's very direct, right? She's the melee character. It's not a sword, it's a spear, but effectively the same, like a dragoon or something. So we built her personality. She's got to be the leader. Absolutely, right? She's got that toughness. And so we built her leadership profile around that. And Sage, as a magic user who obviously has, multi-talents, Sage has got to be smart, because being able to use all these various kind of magic needs some kind of high intelligence or wisdom or whatever. It's well, someone like that likely is going to have some challenges connecting with people. They're going to feel superior, and they're going to talk about it as in a superior way. So So again, all that personality was built from that, and then we said, well, we got to have colors unique to them. And then when we built this notion of the amulets, I was like, well, we got to do something with that represents the character, right? So again, it all built out, all pieces and pieces and pieces. So it was very interesting for all of that to come together. There's actually some really deep lore stuff around the amulet, around the characters, around the colors that are associated with it, which we're not going to share, but we will reveal over time. Especially if you play the game and follow along on the early access journey. Did I miss anything there, Dras?
No, I think you got it all. Wait, done my best not to bug you guys. Oh, appreciate it. Well, it's okay to talk to us. I mean, it's not like we're not. We'll talk when we can. Basically, that's how it comes down to it. So you're not really bugging us. Oh yeah. I just added these monsters, so I need to add.
You don't even remember.
Well, these used to be the wolves that you would encounter like early on in the game, and I stuck them here, and then I was like, they're not strong enough, so I just made a new version of it, and I didn't make the image for it on the battle thing, which is fine.
Well, coming soon, we can also do the color shifting for those characters. One mechanic, which is more behind the scenes, is we are going to... Classic JRPG games would take the same sprite, but they would shift the color. They'd do a hue shift on the colors to make it a different type of enemy. So we have the mechanic in the back end, but because I've been spending my time on bugs, I haven't implemented the configuration we need. But we will have that also, where the monsters or NPCs can have a shift applied to their pixel art.
Yeah.
So that's coming down the road. It's not really that far off, other than just I need to get the time to do it. So we're in the Lowerton area. This is very near the end of early access. Did you show any other Echo Shift node stuff? Would it be prudent to... I think there's something down here, isn't there?
No, that wasn't Echo Shift related.
Oh, okay. I mean, I don't know where. I honestly haven't looked at this map.
Northern Plains.
Oh, it's in Northern Plains.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So there's nothing in Lowerton for Echo Shift?
Not currently, no.
We are trying to pepper the Echo Shift throughout the world.
Yes.
And there will be more of that implemented for things like dungeons and other ones. But it's just, TBD as to where we put it.
There we go.
Did you get the turtle tail?
Yeah, I already gave it to the guy early on.
Okay. I wasn't watching you play.
I don't blame you. Don't blame you.
Does anyone have any questions for us you'd like us to answer? We're also happy to do that. Other features I'll talk about coming down the road. The UI that you see in the menus, that is still the old Smile Game Builder UI. We actually have a whole new UI, but prior to early access launch, we were seeing some issues with it. And we already had a few issues on early access launch, so that was annoying enough. So we elected to turn it off for now. We will be providing a menu in our settings to allow turning on certain features that we're still working on, which will be available to everybody that has the game, even if you're not on the beta branch. But that, again, is also coming down the road. That will be another little setting area, and you can just toggle on certain features that don't affect the overall game, but maybe affect the experience a little bit.
Right.
I can imagine maybe we'll have something for a whole new battle system, and we'll just have a switch for that. And then rather than try to use the existing battle system, we'll have our new solution in place. And you'll be able to turn it on or off, which won't affect the game, but it would affect your experience in battles.
Right.
I'm not committing to that. I'm just saying that's what we'd probably do. And you can see here, one thing we talk about, this was a very interesting thing that we haven't explained fully. The on-map abilities. When we were making the first version of the game, we didn't have any concept of on-map abilities. Every character went the exact same path. They just had different dialogue. But when we got our publisher, Gravity Game Arise, we realized we needed to take it a step further. And so as part of that, as we said, okay, we can't just have every character go on the same path. We can't have them speak for themselves. They've got to have choices. And we're going to have to redesign the whole intro area so that there's 3 different ways that they can get to the same outcome, which was a lot of anxiety, I know. And the Drass was like, we got to do this, but oh my gosh. And he agreed with me eventually, but it's just like, how are we going to find this time? But we knew we had to do it. But in order to do it, we realized to make something that made sense, we had to have some special way that only your character can get through a certain area. And we didn't want it to be so contrived as to be literally like, Dolian opens a path for you or something, which feels like it would take away from the experience. So we had to give your character their own special ability, specifically so that they can get access to things the other characters could not. It is still somewhat contrived if you think about the idea that there's Atlas has a barricade and the other characters can't climb around it, right? But it's a classic JRPG thing, right? Character has a skill that they can use on map. So we decided we'd roll with it. So all 3 characters get their own ability, and in this last area, they have to use their ability to get through. So they each have their own experience getting to the end of this area.
Yep.
Can the characters learn anything beyond level 15? They will. Right now, the skills are limited, but we're going to keep expanding them as we go. It's just, skills and items and things of that nature, they were not quite as high of a priority because a lot of that's just content creation. And I know there's going to be balance to that and making sure it all fits together. But the story and the maps and the game mechanics were a higher priority than getting all the skills listed out. Mirage says, throughout the journey of making the game, what have your guys' favorite part been? What has been your guys' favorite part about the process? Why don't you start, Drass, since you've been the one not talking?
My favorite part about the process, yeah. That's hard. I've always enjoyed the world creation. I think that's my favorite part. Expanding on the world. We have actually a lot more of the world created than what you guys are getting already in early access. And again, you're only getting about 50% of the game with early access. And I really enjoy making the maps. I really enjoy exploring that creative venture with giving different paths to the characters through the maps and stuff like that. So I would say that's my favorite part of the process. Other than, I think we have a lot of fun just going back and improving things from feedback. I think that would be the other part that is fun for me. So,
there's a lot of things I've enjoyed. I think that to me, the journey of the game kind of mirrors our experience in making the game. And every iteration that we've done has improved our development cycle and the quality of the game. There are things that we have now that we never thought we could ever do in the game. We never thought we'd have time. We never thought we would have the ability. There are things I just didn't know about Unity and how the Smile Game Builder engine works. That when we started, we're like, okay, well, we're never going to get to that point because we need to get a game shipped. We set an arbitrary date and said, we're just going to drive to that. We didn't plan on having a publisher. We just thought, let's just make something and get it out there and see what people think.
Yeah.
And so every year of development has seen significant iterative improvements to the game engine and capabilities of that engine. And I have enjoyed that progression. I have worked in software development for 18 years, doing web application development, working in like huge, enterprise level systems where you have to constantly iterate and improve the core system. And you look back and say, wow, remember when we used to have to do it that way and now we can do it this way?
Yeah.
And so, going from the first demo where everything was Smile Game Builder and we're working with these commands and we're like, hacking things together, to using a system that was using a tool called Arcweave to create the story dialogue and import it into Unity, and then process that in Unity and make it something that can be a little bit more dynamic, to putting almost everything into Unity, including loading all the Smile Game Builder data, to using something called Xnode for our dialogue system and our interactions. Like that progression has been so amazing to watch. Now, Drast didn't particularly feel like that could work sometimes. He'd be like, no, we don't have time for this. I'm like, Drast, trust me, you've got to do this. And it was painful and difficult to get it together, but once we got it, it was like just things clicked. And when I got the after the first year, second year, right? We're on our third year, right?
Yeah, it's been like 2.5 years now. So
yeah, after the second year, I finally just like, I'm going to make the node system, and I put it together, put it in front of Drast, and like the very next day he started building maps with it. And that to me was one of the most interesting and exciting parts, to have this, this journey where I was responsible for all of the story, to putting it in Drast's hands and have him take off with my tools. Then I can keep building the tools so we can keep building the game with it. There's so many things like that have happened. We have a CRT filter now, something we really thought we couldn't do and it would take forever. And we have it, right? That was like such a nice to have that it's never going to happen. We have physics being used in the game. It's a small amount, but there's so many things that we're just like, I don't know. We just really did not even imagine what's possible, but we knew we wanted to do. And there's still lots of things like that we still want to do. But a lot more of that feels achievable when, where we are now, when in the past we had really felt like none of that was possible.
Right.
And Drast, you're in the last section here.
Yeah, I think I'm going to, I don't know, stop it here.
Well, I mean, I guess you could show the ending, right?
Yeah,
and then
I guess so. That's fine. Because, I mean...
We could, I mean, if people wanted to, we could go back and show pirate thing. I particularly liked it. I don't mind showing it if people want to be spoiled. We do have a spoiler warning on the list here. So
spoiler alert.
If you guys are cool with it, we can show you the pirate thing. It's not a lot anyway, right? Just a little bit to show. And we can sort of wind down and talk about some of the longer term goals, right? Someone asked about consoles. I've mentioned earlier, we are targeting as many consoles as we can. Switch is primary.
Yes.
And I do have a running version on Switch. I need to just refresh with all the early access stuff.
Yep.
Here's the credits, all the lovely humans. Did we put... Oh, we have to put Wallaber.
Yeah, we put Wallaber in there.
No, but I want him near the top because...
okay.
I want him like underneath Rian or something.
I'm sure someone might have been able to see their name on there. It's you. Yeah. Shorty's on there.
It's me, Shorty.
That's funny.
So we try to put as many people as we can on this.
Yeah.
Somebody's missing. Oh, we did not put Michael on here? I thought we already put him on there.
Oh, yeah. We need to put him on there.
Oh, I thought he was on there. Not an intentional oversight.
Yeah, not intentional.
So,
here we go.
We will be looking at things like our Patreon. If people want to end up on the credits, there's really two main ways you can get there. One is be a very avid supporter of the game by helping us test things and giving us feedback, right? So the people that have given us the most feedback and been proactive and regularly helping us, we put them on the list, like Shorty. Another is if you sign up for our Patreon. I don't know if we put a reward there, but I think if we haven't, we'll put it, that there'll be a reward level that from that point onward, you'll show up in the credits of the game.
Right.
We'll make sure that's updated if that's not in there already. So where are you at right now in the story? Have you started your quest yet?
Yeah. I'm already on the clay part. I saved like right before that earlier. I'm trying to find the post that I can put the chicken on. There we go. That's the one.
So there's only one that you can put it on?
Yeah, Easter egg, man. Easter egg. I don't know how that one got through because I don't think you can put it on the other one. Maybe you can.
The chicken goes up on.
Yeah, I can't put it there.
That's funny.
Yeah, it's only that one. Woohoo!
All right.
Yay,
so
up chicken. Yes, exactly. Hello,
Hey.
Gaudy Pern.
How's it going? I know this is Gotti Fern, but I'll always know you as Joy Thing. So, Dras, did you want to show the clay stuff? Because there's a lag in the video, I can't talk through it.
Yeah, I can show it. I gotta reload the game real quick. Something happened with the shop there. Continue. Yeah. Oh, it's already in the item shop. Open that back up. Get out. All right. So, actually, earlier I already knocked the door down. So that's one of the things that you can potentially do.
Yes, because some people got really annoyed that they always had to knock and say something.
Yeah. So now you have the chance to actually break into their home. So yeah, that'll be fun to watch people do. Mayor Townsend, blah, blah, blah. So this starts the same. You have to go get flowers.
Wait, did you knock the door down already?
Yeah, that's what I said. It's like before this save, I knocked down the door, so.
No, but did you show it happening?
No, I don't have, I can't start a new game, remember? My save is after that.
Okay, well, you can knock the door down, basically.
That's what I was saying.
Once you do that, you can... I wanted to see, well, you guys will find out. Anyway.
Yeah, people need to play it anyway, so.
So one way or another, when you go talk to Clay, this is the one quest that you're required to do.
Yes.
I felt like you should have to do at least one of them, and going and picking flowers seems fun. And one of the future mechanics I really want to do is I want to make any blue flower like that pickable. The problem is performance-wise and just, setting it up in the engine. I don't yet know how I'm going to do it. I know I can, so I'm going to figure it out. But I want to have interactable environments. And so if I can find ways to do that without impacting performance or making it overly complicated, I absolutely will.
Used to, Clay would make you go sell the flowers. Now,
Why don't you read through this?
Yeah, so well, it's yeah. Anyways, Clay said he didn't need the flowers, so he went over to his fireplace, and you can just guess what he did based off the sound effect. Now, for some important tasks. Grab the plate on the table. No. Excuse you? Your fate is in my hands. You want to try that again? I said no. I'm intimidating Clay. I pushed Clay. Wow. Jeez, Pyro's getting physical.
Sorry.
Yeesh, Pyro, what are you doing? I think my tasks here are done. What? No, not a chance. I could strike or approach.
Strike. That one works better. I don't know if approach works as well.
Okay. Oh. Clay dodged. Okay, you win.
I was doing this earlier, and I laughed out loud at my own thing.
Yeah. Dras has gone rogue. Okay, you win. Take this note and go. You receive the note. So now you can intimidate your way through quests, through Clay's quest.
Yeah.
Which is way better.
Why did you... Oh, your screen... Oh, because she's stuck in her, attack mode. That's funny. Well, maybe I should reset the animation before.
Maybe.
Anyway,
you're also behind, so...
There's going to be a change to, the first quest that the mayor gives you, where there might be a way that you don't have to go hunt down the guards.
Mm-hmm.
And Sage's quest will be different. It's not different yet, but I just added the Clay thing today because I know how much Clay annoyed people.
Yeah.
And again, when we hear feedback, I think it sometimes go like this. Dras says, oh my gosh, people are really hating this thing. We got to change it. We got to change it right now. We got to fix this. This is really bad. And I say, hold on, Dras. I hear the feedback, but let's do it somewhat methodically. And so, and not to imply that stress is quite that much, but sometimes it's like, oh, people are hating this game, because we care. We care when people don't like things. But we want to find a way to make change that fits within the game. We're not just going to slap an answer in there, right? And this fits. You have to understand that there is a duality in the story. There is a story that the character is meant to experience, and there is the story that the player can influence. And people might worry about like whether the choices have a major impact. They really don't. There's little funny things like with Sage. If you're mean to Mrs. Olsky, she walks really slow. But it's not meant to be something that's like majorly impactful. And so in this case, I realized from all the feedback, and I knew we needed to do something about this, that even though Dolian's intent is for Pyra to learn how to be more humble and follow directions, she doesn't have to be. You're the player. You can make a different choice. And Pyra, it can be, she can use her intimidation to effect. And in fact, Sage hints at the fact that, like, look, you don't have to do what Dolian says, right? There is going to be that ability in the future to make some better decisions.
Right.
We're going to try and play with that more. And in fact, one of the things Grass has desperately been asking me to do in the early access version is to introduce a couple more of those elements. It's somewhat intentional that early access has a little bit less of that. When I say early access, I mean everything after the demo. So everything after Nautilus Forest. And the reason is because this journey is supposed to stretch out. So Summiton is a very dense area. It's your training ground. It's where you experience the game for the first time. It's where you get to experiment with the differences in the different characters. And then as it stretches out, you have more space to explore. And there's less need for as much variance in how the characters interact with the world. It doesn't mean we won't add variance, but there's a desire to get you moving forward because the world is bigger. So we're not trying to make it quite as dense because there's just like a huge desert. Speaking of, by the way, just one other thing I should call out about the desert. Another thing people have not complained about, but noted. The movement between maps can sometimes be confusing. So please know that we are going to work on making the map transition areas more obvious, especially in wide open areas or in the forest. Again, this is one of those things that some of it's just basic map design tweaks that we need to do. Some of it is like with the desert, how do you make the exit of the desert more clear? Some of it is like map time. So we're gonna work on and tweaking that and improving that as we go.
All right, and the rest of this is pretty much the same for now. So one of the things that, you were talking about later on. You mentioned the other power would be fast travel with the amulet, right? Mm-hmm. Which is actually one of the first things that we want to implement right after the content that we have now. So the plan is to open up the map again, basically to allow you to go back to Gilberry, go back to Nautilus, be able to go back to these other areas and do everything if you hadn't done it yet. And so that's going to be one of our first goals for early access, is to have that bit unlocked and then continue the story from there, obviously. But
and I guess since you already talked about it, the fast travel notion is essentially just like you can shift where the node is. There'll be a way that you can travel to a different node within the same side of the world that you're on. As long as you've activated, you can travel to it.
Yes.
The only thing that I haven't yet figured out is the one that's over the water. I'm not sure if we're going to allow travel to that or if we're going to have to do something creative with that.
Oh, I mean, the other option is just have them be able to go to the echo nodes.
So we'll figure that one out. Yeah. I'm not sure yet how we're going to do it.
Right. Make
If you
them
can go-
drown. Yeah, just drop the player into the,
Well,
into the
see,
water.
what I wanted, I swear, though you can see it in like the preview of the game where Pyro's flying over the water. I still wanted the bubble to be where you travel into.
You're right.
And then I wanted you to just fall into the water and like float down to the waterfall, because it all goes to the same spot, right?
Yeah.
It's like you can't get out of it. You're gonna get stuck anyway, and you just float, and because in every single area, if you ask like, why did we block every area up, it was specifically for this, just in case we had a scenario where you make it back. Because the one thing that happens in games like this, invariably, either your hometown gets destroyed or you can't go back to it. It's not always that way. Some games they let you go back to your hometown and it's fine. But typically there is a component of the game where you spend time away from where you started. Yeah. You start your journey away from that. And so to make that work, we had to prevent you from getting access back. You'll get back to Summerton at some point. But it's partly because there's complications if you let you go back there, and then we gotta like add a whole nother layer. And partly because we want to keep people forward thinking and not thinking that they have to get back to Summerton right away.
Right.
But that's, but you should, like in the cave, it'd be great. You show up in the cave and you fall down the little crevice, right? That would be funny. After a few seconds of wondering if you died or not, an animation could play of you swimming to shore. Yeah, like we could just make you swim to the shoreline too, that you're right there. It doesn't have to be all the way down to the, or we could let you swim. We weren't planning on a swim mechanic though. We're not trying to be like other games that do that. The game's not really about swimming in water. It's not like a mechanic we're going to do anything interesting with, so at least so far as we know. So I don't really want to emphasize going into water.
Right.
Video Wizard says, so I hear you got new art for the store page. Has it worked? We haven't put the new art on the store page actually, which I don't know why actually. Why haven't?
That's still my job to do. I mean, I have.
Oh.
I'm probably I have a lot of jobs. I'm a multifaceted person. I do social media management. I do game design. I do bug fixes. I do story elements. I'm the everything man.
He is, because Masti can't swim. I can swim okay. Gotti says, or a game over screen and deleting their save file. Yeah.
Yes.
No, because we've gotten like at least one negative review because people lost their save.
Yeah.
So no, we're not going to do that. No, not at all. But he did make the fancy banner. Yeah, you talk about like we're both everything men for different things.
Yeah.
Grass does everything visual, and he does it so fast and easily. It's amazing. And he does the marketing, and he does posting, and he does also support the story in the game. And he does the map making and the art in the game. And I do the story and a whole lot of technical.
Yep.
And all the businessy stuff. Okay? So technically, I'm the president of Dratzy Games. So I do anything that's related to any contracts or business-focused emails or business contact. Dratz prefers to make me do the speaking, as you may not have noticed or may not have noticed during this. Although he is perfectly fine at doing the talking part if he so desires.
I'm better at it when I'm working on like maps and stuff. I can just talk about what I'm doing.
So that's where we're at. We're happy to answer any more questions if you guys have any for us about the game, about where we're headed. Otherwise, we'll start segueing into the wrap-up chat.
Yes.
We'll give people a few seconds if you have any questions.
Final countdown.
It's the final countdown. Oh, what you should also see, you have the new version. Can you turn on your ability? And can you go see if that chest? Oh, the chest is open now, so it won't.
No, yeah, the chest is. I'm able to detect the chest.
Yeah, I was in this area because I had a fix. Apparently, I never made something with the campsite where if you said you didn't want to go into it, you can come back to it later.
Yeah.
So I had to fix all that today, and while I was there, I went and fixed all the.
What inspired the character names? What? How do I I don't know if I even remember how we came up with the character names, other than just like throwing a bunch of names.
I could go look at our chat for it.
Yeah.
Let's see, did the characters come first or the names? I think the names came first.
Did they?
The names came
Yeah, the
yes,
names came first.
So the names we really, I think we went to like a name generator, and then we didn't use any of the names.
Yeah, we came up with their personalities too and stuff.
Yeah.
I think that's what helped us a little bit.
We want 3 characters, one boy, 1 woman, and a non-binary character.
Yeah.
And then we said, what are their classes? All right, we don't want the normal classes. So one will be, and this is really Dras, because he's got even though I played video games, I think he's got much more extensive lore knowledge for video games. Just like conceptually how games should be and how they are. And he's like, well, I really like ranger characters. Okay, well, we'll make the young kid the one with the bow. All right, well, we need a strong female, and she's gonna have red hair, of course. I think we literally she has to have red hair. And say, well, she can't have a sword. All right, what about a spear wielder? Yeah, okay.
That's cool.
And then there's going to be a mage. Yeah, a mage. What are they going to have? Well, obviously they're going to have a book, right? They're going to have all these elements. So we went through those components. It's like, okay, there we got that. And I can't remember who we named first, but Pyra I felt like was the easiest.
Yeah.
It's like, well, red hair, fire, Fyra. How about Pyra? And we just we went back and forth. Right. Atlas wasn't too bad. Yeah, I feel like the names just came from the ether, didn't they?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't spend a ton of time on those.
Oh, that was
I think we spent more time on world names, the area names and stuff. Which is funny enough, because after a while we were just like, well, let's just do the reverse names of stuff, so some of them would be anonymous.
Things is hard. I remember the first time I said anonymous, and you're like, no.
Yeah,
that's dumb. That's dumb.
And then I just started.
Because it's you have to name so many things, you don't have time to come up with the. And I think that's how we started. I said, look, Dras, if you want to make a game, I say from my years of experience, and you want to release it on the time you think, then you just got to start naming things. And so for the characters, let's just come up with ideas. Don't put ourselves into the characters. Don't try to force some perfect ideal. Just throw 3 names. Pick a name. It's good enough. Let's move on. That's kind of how we were doing. Yeah. And then which is great because it didn't give us attachment to the characters in a way where if it wasn't perfect, we'd be really upset, right? We came up with the idea. Dras started sketching because he was really inspired. He was sketching the characters. And then we were feeling like, okay, we kind of got the idea, but we need a real artist. And then Rion doing the art really solidified the personalities based on what we described. It was just amazing. It was just very much kismet how it all came together.
Yeah.
And I got really I didn't see myself as a writer, but Dras is like, look, I don't want to do the writing.
Yeah.
I said, okay, time for me to become a writer. Not like I don't have capability in writing, but I suppose I envisioned
the whole first act is Motzi. I mean, I didn't do any of that writing. So
right. Well, I mean, you helped with a chunk of it, actually.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
All the the interactions and stuff.
Right, but I'm talking about story-wise. Interactions, Yeah,
that's
that
true.
I mean,
the story was me doing a majority of it with some input from Dras on what makes sense. We said, there's a well. We got to do something with the well, And so we came up with the well quest. Originally, that was on everybody's thing, and it was just a side quest. So we were going to say, if you didn't rescue Crystal, someday you'd come back and there'd be a little gravesite in the well, which we might still do for the other characters that aren't sage. But yeah, it was just always very organic every single step of the way. And again, I said this we streamed on Saturday, and I said, I can't imagine creating a game and a storyline where everything is known and then you just build the game around the story. I can't imagine that working for us in our process. I think that the way we've done it, where we defined the path, the direction, we defined the ending of the game, even to the point where we get chills on some of the ideas that we're going to put together. But we didn't hold on to it as the perfection, and we just said, this is the path they're going to take. Everywhere you're going in the game right now is literally the path that we defined near the beginning. Everything that's happening after we release the next set of content for EA, the path that you take to get to the next area, all that stuff was defined like near the beginning, but
Yeah.
we're not, but we're like altering things or changing things, or if something doesn't make sense, we're gonna adjust it accordingly.
Mhm.
Because the path really doesn't really matter. Like, it matters in that this is where you need to go, but like the exact perfection of it doesn't matter. The experience is what matters to us, the story and it fitting together and making sense. Because there's been a couple things that we've brought in and discarded, saying, oh, this is how this character is going to be, or this is this person's, and like we've refined it because as we've played with the story, we've heard from people, we see how it fits together better.
Yeah.
And it just gets, like, the story just gets better and better at every step of the way. The sage all walking on the bench there.
Yep.
Why isn't Pyra roasting s'mores with her spear? I don't know. Why would she do that? Seriously. This was great. Thanks, Storyvane.
Well, I think if there's no more questions, I think we'll just go ahead and
we'll do the final spiel.
The final spiel. Yes.
The final spiel is this. We've talked about copy sold goals. We are a little over 1,000 copies. We'll be fully transparent that after doing a sale, the numbers drop. We get it. Early access, the pricing maybe for some people is too high to commit to an early access game, and we totally understand. If you're listening to this and you're not sure whether you'd want to buy early access, we highly encourage you to do the demo. The demo is the full version of the game. It just cuts off after a certain point. Early access is a whole nother like 6 hours of content after that. So you are getting your money's worth. The game has 50,000 plus words. So there's a lot of content in this game that you can experience for the amount you're spending. Some people spend $19.99, or I guess whatever country you're in, the equivalent, for a game that has less content than our early access version. So know that you're not getting, a couple hours of content. You're getting, for some people, maybe up to 20 hours. So if you do every single thing in the game, you could get up to 20 hours of content with 3 characters. So there's a lot of content in this game to experience. If you are interested in buying the game, try the demo. If you like it, please buy it. If you do buy it and contribute, stop by our Discord. The banner is on Steam. We have a Discord link here in chat. Come talk to us. Tell us what you think. The best way to get a hold of us. We are trying to bump our numbers up. We're trying to get to 5,000 copies sold by early August. Pacing wise, we're not quite going that route, but we'd love to get there as fast as we can. So tell your friends about it. It really helps us out.
Yeah.
If you're not into or you're not able to like do any more than you can, that's great. We get it. If you're interested in doing farther, we have a Patreon. Check out our link tree, which will be for the Twitch people in chat, and also I will put it in the YouTube chat. You can always find us on Discord and ask. We have the link tree link there too, and we have Patreon. So go into our Patreon, look at something if you want to support us, sign up. Tell us if you want something more for the rewards. We'll talk about what rewards might make sense for the different tiers. We're happy to tweak it as necessary. And if you do go through the whole process, if you buy the game, or if you have it now, you haven't already, if you want to give us a thumbs up, go into Steam, give a review, even if it's just a little couple sentences with a thumbs up. It truly, truly helps us out.
Yep.
And if nothing else, drop a wish list. Even if you don't ever want to play the game again, if you are so kind as to just drop a wish list, that helps us out tremendously.
Yep.
And go to every other indie game and drop a wish list. It so helps people out. And I hope you guys see, as indie devs, working our night times and our weekends, we want this to be successful, but we're pouring our hearts into this. And that's what indie dev is about. That's what indie devs do. I don't care if it is one person working or a studio of 20 people. Those people are doing this stuff because they love it. Give support to them by a wish list at the very minimum. That is the simplest thing that you can do.
Yep.
And I can tell you that every single indie dev I know appreciates it They need it. It shows value and it helps them out.
Yep.
I think I covered all the components of this.
Yeah.
I think we can go to talking heads. I like how you have
Oh yeah.
Sage sitting there.
Say just listening.
Just listening, following along. Hopefully we'll get to 2.5K goals soon, getting near the halfway mark. I hope so. And we are going to probably do an update where we're going to move some of the goalposts. We're going to put something into the 2.5 as a target to maybe encourage people to want to help us. It's hard because unlike a Kickstarter, you can't just give more, right? I suppose you could buy copies for friends if you really want to go that route, but that won't move the needle as much as like a broader. I mean,
Right.
you know, 1.5K copies. You're not going to buy that many individually, right? So we got to get the word out. We got to encourage people to purchase it. We'd love people to understand that we are working really hard on the feedback. This isn't an early access that you just buy it and nothing happens. We're on patch version 0.19 or 0.20.
Yeah.
Since we launched the demo a month ago.
Yeah.
So I think we started patching on the demo. That's 20 releases.
Yeah.
20 builds that we've pushed into Steam, or that we will be pushing into Steam. Right now it's 0.17 for the current main brand, but we have a couple. So I hope you guys see, we are working our batutskis off to do this, and we want to make sure people feel like they're getting value out of purchasing the game.
Right.
2.5K would be a great number to reach. Still shows good viability and investment.
Yeah.
We want to work with you all. So, let people know. That's all we can ask for, right? We super appreciate it. And if you can, give them this link. It has some tracking on it that's more about the Steam, but it'll help us. Just stream. I mean, it'll help us know where the links are coming from, which is really important when it comes to tracking your game. And I'm happy, by the way, if you are a game developer or someone interested in game dev, and you want to get into it, or you want to know some of the ins and outs, I'm happy to do a stream on my own channel or as Dratzy Games, where I talk about some of these under the hood stuff that Dratz and I deal with. Because it's not just build a game. If you ever want to know about that, we're happy to give some little chats about it.
Right.
Anyway, there you go. Dratz, do you want to add anything to the end of this?
You're a beautiful human being. And I appreciate everything you do for us. Just
okay, what?
Just
That's
have
not
to
about me.
throw that out there. Okay? Moxie's really cool, guys.
This is how we did our last one. We're like, and I love you too. Dratz.
We're friends. I just like listening to you talk. I'm just kidding.
You would be one of the first. I think my wife is okay with it sometimes.
Moxie is beautiful. See, I agree. He's a good friend. He does a lot of hard work. Yeah. Anyways, you guys rock too. Thank you for coming by. It was a lot of fun to hang out, play the game. Even though I didn't do a lot of talking, it's probably for the better.
He prefers it when I do the talking, but I do make him do more of it. All right. Well, you all have a lovely evening. If you're watching on Steam and this is rebroadcast, thanks for watching. We notice people watch on Steam. We appreciate it. It affects our numbers. It's great. So thank you, everybody, for your support. We will get the rebroadcast up sometime in the near future, and we will be seeing you all on Discord or on our next stream.
Yep. Take care, everyone. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.